And I will, of course, start with our quote for you. The universe, picking it out specifically for Kimberly and Cooper McNeil. It is this one. Andre Gide, Gide. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Guide or Gide, I guess. Guide. Andre. It is better to be hated for what you are than to be loved for what you are not. It is better to be hated for what you are than to be loved for what you are not. I think that's pretty cool. That's a hard one though, especially for me who likes, when I'm teaching, I'm hoping people like me. And I think I'm pretty much me when I teach, though maybe an amplified version of me. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that because you got to get people's interest going. Anyway, Andrew Guide will remind us at the end. I'll set that right here so I don't forget it. All right, so I've just got the mat, obviously. Excuse me, why don't we start off sitting, if possible, cross-legged. If that's uncomfortable, the legs can be out in front of you in a V-sit. If you feel really tight in your lower back, propping yourself up on a blanket or cushion would be good. And as always, let me start my 20 minutes here. And that way, I'll kind of keep up with how much time it is. I am not going to start with any breath work per se. So if you want to, before we start, if you want to just kind of pause and take 5 minutes, whether it's just to have to kind of cultivate that Ujjayi breath, or to just even out your breath, or just taking 5 minutes to focus on your breath, right? That would be good. All right, so sitting cross-legged, if we can again. And we'll just start with hands on our knees and do some seated cat-cows. Okay. So you're rooted down through those sits bones. Let's lengthen up through the spine. And then as you inhale, tilting the pelvis forward, so that anterior tilt, lifting the heart and chest, some gentle extension of the spine. The throat opens a little, don't overdo that though. And then on the exhale, pulling the belly in, tucking the pelvis under, we rock the spine back, rounding the spine, chin comes in toward the chest. And so inhale into that extension. Again, don't overly throw the head back. Exhale. So just going with your breath. And just noticing kind of that interplay, right, of spine, pelvis, and head. And how they, while separate, are connected. Let's do one more time. And then we'll sit back up to neutral. So going into some spine twists, being gentle. I don't know what you've done in your day so far. This might be the first rotation you take, so we're not cranking and overly torquing our spine. But we're going to bring our right hand over to our left knee. We're going to rotate to the left. We'll just bring that left hand back behind our back for a little support. Right, so turning the head, if that feels okay in your neck, and looking back over that shoulder. You still feel your sits bones equally weighted to the mat. And your shoulders are above your hips, so we're not leaning back. We'll take another breath and then unwind. Let the spine come back to neutral again. And then we'll take that left hand over to the right knee and rotate. And being aware, you might feel tighter one direction or the other. Maybe looking back. Feeling that left side of the rib cage trying to angle forward. Right side angling back behind you. We'll take another breath. And then we'll unwind back to center. So we're gonna take our left arm. Let's reach it up alongside our ear and try to relax the shoulder. You can have some bend in the elbow, that's cool. And we'll have the other hand down at the floor beside us. As we inhale, think of lengthening up and then over into that side bend. We slide the hand out for some support. Right? We're reaching the arm across the room, keeping our shoulders stacked. Looking straight ahead, or if you want to turn and look more up, that's all right too. We'll take another inhale. On an exhale, let's rotate through the waistline. We're going to bring that left hand down to the mat also. So now we rotate, we've got both hands to the side. Still trying to keep that left hip down. It's going to want to lift up. And your right hand is going to be forward of your left, right? And as it should stay that way. It should stay forward, but try to inchworm that left hand just a little more forward to feel more stretch through that left side of your back. We'll take another breath. Let's come out of that rotation back to the side bend and then all the way up. We'll let that left hand come down and the right arm come up. We're in a neutral spine to begin, right? And then as we inhale, lifting up like your rib cage is coming up and away from your pelvis, and then side bending. And noticing differences from side to side. Breath is even, smooth. Breathing into that right side of the rib cage. Let's take another inhale. As we're exhaling, drawing the belly in, let's rotate and we'll bring that right hand down to the mat. So now both hands are onto the mat. Try to keep that right sits bone down on the mat as best you can. And see if you can crawl the right hand just a little more forward. I'll take another breath here. And then coming out of that rotation, so you return to the side bend, and then we'll come all the way up. Now, once we're all the way up, we're going to extend one leg out. I'm going to turn now, be lengthwise on my mat. So left leg is going to be straight. Our right knee is bent, and that foot comes into the inside of that right thigh or farther down if you need to, if that's too much flexion on that knee. If you feel tension in that left hip, or excuse me, in that right hip, that you can put a block, a yoga blanket, a pillow underneath for some support. So we're gonna have one leg straight. We're gonna dorsiflex that ankle, toes are pointing up. We're gonna inhale, lifting up, lifting our rib cage up and away from the pelvis, elongating our spine. And as we exhale, tilting the pelvis forward, pulling the belly in and coming down. And then hands maybe holding on to foot, maybe higher up, depending on you this morning. And it can be different from day to day. Try not to round the upper back. so much, right? So we're not collapsing and bringing our head down, but think of our almost like our hearts trying to reach toward the top of our foot. The neck is neutral, right? So the chin is going to be slightly down. You're looking down towards your shin. We'll take another breath. And then we'll sit all the way up. We're going to bring the soles of both feet together for our bound angle. Feet close in or farther out, depending on your ability to keep that neutral pelvis and spine. So if you bring it really close, but you collapse back, then take the feet farther out. And of course, listen to those knee joints and the hip joint. And we'll have our hands on our toes or at our ankles. And we'll inhale, lifting the chest, trying to flatten the back. Exhale, using a little arm strength to gently pull the spine down, but we're not rounding our back yet. So we're strengthening those extensors of our spine because it's very tempting to allow that roundedness to happen, but we're using those extensors to keep that from happening. Right, so feeling the opening in the inside of the thighs and into the groin. You may also feel it here at top and even into the back side. Taking another breath. And then let's inhale, lifting up. We're going to keep the left leg bent this time. Right leg is going to reach out. So the sole of the foot against the inside of the leg, again, above or below the knee, but not pushing into the knee joint itself. Dorsiflex that ankle. We'll inhale, we'll lift up, and then exhale, coming into that forward fold and just noticing differences on the side. Maybe you have more reach, maybe you have less. Watching the neck. We don't want it to take our top of the, or the back of our head back. Keep the back of the neck long. Shoulders are level, so make sure that your right shoulder isn't dipping down. Let's level them. We'll take one more breath. And then we'll sit all the way up. We're going to extend both legs long onto the mat. We'll inhale, lift those arms up, dorsiflex both ankles, and then exhale, coming into that forward fold. Now this time, let's let our back release just a little, right? So you can let that stretch happen and let the head kind of more drop down toward the legs. And we're going to play a little with our shoulders. So the left shoulder, kind of dip it down, right shoulder lifts up. Let's hold there for a breath or two. And then changing, right shoulder is going to dip down, left shoulder kind of lifts up. So we're doing little side bends. I don't mean like we're shrugging the shoulder up, but a little side bend so that the right shoulder's down and the left shoulder's higher. We'll take another breath. Let's square the shoulders again and inhale, come up. And then we're going to come to all fours. Right, so in our all fours, we'll be doing some cat-cows to begin. Your feet are in line behind the knees. We'll untuck the toes, so trying to flatten the tops of the feet down, stretching open the front of the ankle. We're in our neutral pelvis to begin. Press down through the pads of the fingers. Almost feel like you're lifting the palm up a little bit. We'll inhale, tilt the pelvis forward. The belly's going to drop toward the mat. We'll lift the chin, so coming into that extension. And as we exhale, tucking the pelvis under and rounding up. Inhale. And exhale. Let's do one more time. Inhale. And exhale. We're going to tuck the toes under. We're going to push up into a modified down dog. So keep lots of bend in the knees and focus first on the length of the spine, right? And our shoulder blades are down. Right? And then maybe straightening the legs a little bit, but keep a good bend in the knee, right? So don't think that you want to straighten the legs, because oftentimes what that means is, whoop, you kind of change in your back a little bit and round in the spine. And I want you to see if you can almost even find that natural low back inward curve here. And the heels drop down. Like pushing yourself away from the mat so your energy is reaching back and up. We'll take another breath here and then stepping your right foot forward between your hands. So it might be one big step or it might be lots of little steps. But eventually getting that right foot between the hands. We're going to flatten now the back foot down. We're going to come up into our warrior two. As we inhale, legs are strong. We lift up and reach out. So fingers reaching forward and back. And we'll have, trying to keep some external rotation at the shoulder joint. So for fun, let's just turn the palms to face up and your bicep is facing up toward the ceiling. Now keep the bicep facing up toward the ceiling and just turn the palms down. Right, rooting down through both feet equally, shoulders stacked over our hips. And we'll turn that front palm up, and as we inhale, reverse our warrior, trying to maintain the bottom half of the body so we're not straightening that knee. And our right knee's right above our heel. Reach. Don't lose your breath, keep it with you. We'll take another breath here. We'll return to our warrior two. And then we'll bring both hands back down to the mat, pivot so you're back onto the toes and the ball of the foot of your left foot. Now we'll bring our right hand to the inside of that right foot. And then we're going to walk the right foot over to the left, coming into a lizard lunge, letting the hips come down. You can keep the knee off or drop the knee down. With the knee dropped down, I think you feel just oftentimes a little more stretch in the actual hip flexors. We're going to take another breath. If that knee is down, we'll lift it back up. We're going to walk the foot back in. We're going to go back to that down dog, that modified down dog. So bending knees, pushing the hips back and down, feet about hip distance apart. Heels drop down, so you feel that stretch through the calves. We're going to step that left foot forward between the hands. We're going to flatten the back foot down. So that front heel basically lining up with the back heel or the back arch. As we inhale, strong legs, inner thighs are engaged. We come up. Right? We've got one arm reaching back to the same degree the other arm reaches forward. So feeling like you're lengthening away from the center line of your body and the belly is pulling in. Our biceps are still angling up, but palms down. Pressing the back edge of that back foot down, lifting up through the arches. We'll turn that front palm up. We'll inhale, reverse. Right, opening up top side of the rib cage. Maybe looking up. Keeping the integrity of the bottom half of the body. We'll take another breath. And let's inhale back up into our warrior two. And then we'll bring both hands to the mat. Pivot back onto the ball of the foot. We're gonna walk that left foot over. Now the left hand's on the inside of the left foot. Okay. So into that lizard lunge, allowing the hips to lower. We're not hyper arching or dumping into our lower back though. And then maybe bringing that knee down if you want. Right, you can come down lower, of course, too. Come down onto those forearms if you have that range of motion. Otherwise, you can stay up on the hands. Breathing into the pelvis. We'll take another breath. We'll bring our hands back up. If we were down, we're going to walk that foot back in line with our hip joint. Left hand comes to the outside of the left foot. We're going to lift that right knee up. We're going to come back into that down dog. And to this down dog, let's just kind of walk in place. So one leg does straight more, the other knee bends. Let both heels lift up high. Let both knees then, or both heels drop down. Legs can be straighter. You can put more bend back in the knees again. We'll take another breath. Let's walk our hands toward our feet. We'll be in a roll down. And as we inhale, let's come up to standing. Circle those arms out and up. Reach up, hands down. Now, we're just under 20 minutes. I do want us to do a balance move before we wrap up. So we're going to come into our tree. We're going to bring our hands to our heart. Shifting your weight into your right leg. Bending that left knee forward and then externally rotate at the hip and just rest the heel above the ankle. And nothing wrong with this being your tree. We do want to try to keep the pelvis itself level and that hip pulled in so we don't sink into that hip. Maybe slide the foot up to the inside of the calf or using your hand to bring up higher on your thigh. Avoid the inside of the knee joint. Use your drishti, right? That soft gaze. Thigh presses into foot, foot presses into thigh. Maybe growing branches if you like. Cactus arms. We'll take another breath. Bring our hands back to the heart if we change them. And then we'll take that foot down. Take a moment. We'll shift your weight into your left leg. Right knee bends forward. We go into that external rotation. Propping that heel right above the ankle just to find our center, our balance. Leg is strong, hips pulled in. Maybe sliding the foot up to the inside of the calf or all the way up to the inside of that thigh. Calming your breath. And maybe we grow those branches or cactus the arms. We'll take another breath here. Returning our hands back to our heart. And then letting the foot come down. We'll take a nice big inhale. We lift up. And exhale, hands to heart. Beautiful. Now, if you have the opportunity, take 5 minutes to just lie quietly on your mat for your Shavasana and focusing on your breath. Whatever thoughts pop into your mind, allow them to pop in and then let them go.